All right, let's just get right into it. Today, we are going to unpack one of the biggest, most powerful ideas in all of philosophy, and also one of the most misunderstood. We're talking about Aristotle's golden mean, and I'm telling you right now, it is not what you think it is.
I mean, you've heard the name, right? Aristotle's mean. It's one of those concepts that just kind of floats around. You might have heard it in a college class, maybe in a self-help book. It feels familiar, like something we all basically get. And if you had to define it, you'd probably use words like balance or moderation. It's that old advice to just find the middle ground, everything in moderation. Sounds pretty good, doesn't it? Well, what if I told you that entire popular idea is just wrong? Not just a little off, but fundamentally wrong. In fact, if you follow that advice, you're not aiming for excellence, you're actually setting yourself up for mediocrity. So let's get this straight from the jump. The mean has nothing to do with being lukewarm or splitting the difference. It is not about balance. It's about functional excellence. It's about being incredibly effective in a specific situation. It's a formula for peak performance. So first things first, we have to tear down this whole myth of moderation. This modern idea of balance. It's often just an excuse, right? An excuse to play it safe, to not rock the boat. But Aristotle wasn't trying to make you safe. He was trying to show you how to be excellent. Look at this. This is the big mindset shift we have to make. We need to completely swap out our vocabulary. So stop thinking balance and start thinking precision. Get rid of moderation and replace it with effectiveness. And this is the big one. We're ditching the goal of mediocrity and aiming for what this was always about, excellence. And this is the definition we're going to use from here on out, functional excellence. It's the skill, the ability to find the exact right response needed for whatever situation you're in. It's not about being in the middle of the road. It's about being effective. It's a skill, not a compromise. So, how does this actually work? What are the mechanics of it? Well, this is where it gets really cool because Aristotle's framework is so simple, but once you get it, it is unbelievably powerful. Okay, so here's the core idea. For any human virtue you can think of, there are two ways to fail, two ways to get it wrong. You can have way too little of that quality. That's what he called the vice of deficiency. Or you can have way too much of it. That's the vice of excess. The virtue, that point of excellence, is that effective sweet spot, right in between those two failures. Let's make this real with an example. Courage. Now, we're not talking about being fearless. That's not the goal. Courage, in this model, is the capacity to act despite your fear. But here's the catch. Only when it's actually necessary and appropriate. And this just lays it out perfectly. On one side, you have the deficiency, cowardice. You're so paralyzed by risk, you can't do anything. On the complete other end, you have the excess, recklessness. This is where you're just taking dumb risks for your own ego. Neither one is effective. True courage, the functional mean, is the skill of actually evaluating risk versus reward, and then acting when the moment is right. See, both cowardice and recklessness are just different flavors of failure. And that leads to a really tough question we've got to ask ourselves, right? Because our ego, it loves to dress up recklessness and call it bravery. So are the brave things you do actually effective, or are they just impulsive, self-serving actions in disguise? Okay, let's try another one. Generosity. Again, the functional definition here is everything. This isn't just about giving away stuff. It's about giving the right amount from a place of genuine abundance, not from a desperate need to be liked or a deep-seated fear of being abandoned. This spectrum is so relevant today. On one end, the deficiency is stinginess. You're cold, transactional, you withhold everything, money, emotions, all of it. But the excess, prodigality, is something so many of us struggle with. This is people-pleasing. It's when you empty your own cup to fill everyone else's until you're completely burnt out. True functional generosity is the excellence of helping others while having clear boundaries. It's giving without destroying yourself in the process. Okay, so we get it. There are two ways to fail on either side of excellence, too little or too much. Now for the hard part. How do we actually use this? Because, knowing the map is one thing, but actually navigating the terrain in real life, that's a whole different ballgame. This quote from Aristotle himself just nails the whole challenge. Think about it. Getting angry, that's easy. It's an impulse. But to use that anger effectively, to be angry with the right person, with just the right intensity, at the perfect time, and for the right reason. That is hard. That takes skill. That is functional excellence.
So here's the real insight. This mean, this functional point, it's not some universal number. It's not the same for everyone in every situation. It's totally relative to you and to the specific context you're in. Finding your functional point is a personal journey of trial and error. So how do we do it? Here's a super practical 4-step method. First, you have to be brutally honest with yourself. Identify your extreme. Do you naturally lean towards too much or too little of a certain quality? Second, observe the consequences. How is that tendency actually making you dysfunctional or ineffective in your life? Third, and this is key, don't try to swing all the way to the other side. Just aim for one small step, a tiny adjustment toward the center. And finally, number 4, evaluate by the results. Are you functioning better? The goal here isn't to feel comfortable. The goal is to be more effective.
And really, this is what it all comes down to. Finding your mean isn't some big, one-time lightning bolt of insight. It is a constant practice. It's a habit you build over time, through countless tiny adjustments, day after day, until it becomes your default way of being. Excellence isn't an act you perform. It's a habit you live.
So I'll just leave you with this question. The very next decision you have to make today, doesn't matter how big or small, I want you to pause for just a second and ask yourself, what does excellence require of me right here, right now? Forget what's easy, forget what feels comfortable. What does functional excellence demand?